This is the demonstration video for the Zucchini Cheddar Bacon Muffins. Your cooking principles are as follows. 1. The muffin method of mixing. Muffins are mixed by the muffin method. The muffin method consists of 3 steps. Step 1. We sift all our dry ingredients together. Step 2. We combine all our liquid ingredients together. And step 3. We make a well in the dry ingredients and add the liquids in all at once. Cooking principle number 2. Type of quick bread, quick and easy to make. Rises quickly because it uses baking powder to rise and not yeast. Leavening agents are ingredients that cause our products to rise. Baking powder is the leavening agent most frequently used in flour mixtures. It is a commercially prepared leavening agent made from an acid and a salt form, soda, which is usually sodium bicarbonate, and starch, which is usually cornstarch. When mixed with a liquid, they create carbon dioxide gas, which will cause our muffins to rise. Baking soda will act as a leavening agent when it's combined with another acidic substance, such as buttermilk or sour cream, vinegar, or even cream retarder. When it's combined with one of these ingredients, it too will also produce carbon dioxide gas that will help raise our flour mixture, in this case, our muffins. Cooking principle number 3. Muffins are an example of a drop batter. This describes the consistency of a muffin mixture before it goes in the oven. The mixture is thick enough to be dropped from a spoon, but too thick to be poured from a bowl. The reason why the mixture is this consistency is because there's approximately 1 part liquid ingredients to 2 part dry ingredients. Nutrition. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are responsible for supplying the body with energy, sparing protein, and assisting the utilization of fats. Protein. It is essential for building muscle, repairing all types of body tissue, regulating body processes, forming antibodies to fight infection, and supplying your body with energy. Fat. Fat helps protect your body and insulate body parts such as major organs, supplies energy to your whole body, transports fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K, and supplies your body with essential fatty acids needed for functioning. Vitamin A is needed for normal growth and formations of bones and teeth, for maintaining normal vision, resisting infection by keeping your skin and lining layer of your body healthy. Vitamin C. It is essential for growth, development, and repair of the body tissues. It is also needed for the absorption of iron, proper functioning of the immune system, wound healing, and the maintenance of cartilage, bones, and teeth. Ingredients. 125 milliliters of all-purpose flour. Gluten is the protein substance in flour which forms strong elastic strands when mixed with the liquid. Heat will harden this protein and the muffin will be held in its risen state. 125 milliliters whole wheat flour. Whole wheat flour also contains gluten, which provides structure for our muffin, but extra nutrition and a nutty flavor as well. 2 milliliters baking powder. Baking powder is a leavening agent that when combined with a liquid will help produce the carbon dioxide gas needed to leaven our muffin. 1 milliliter baking soda. Baking soda is a leavening agent that when combined with an acid will create carbon dioxide gas. Today's muffin features buttermilk, which is the acid. 2 milliliters salt. Salt enhances natural flavors found within any baking product. Today we want to bring out our flavors such as the zucchini, carrot, cheddar, and bacon. It will also help us draw out moisture from our zucchini. 1 milliliter pepper. Pepper adds depth and warmth to any dish that it's added to, much like salt, enhancing natural flavors. A pinch of sugar. Sugar helps caramelize when subjected to the heat of the oven and turns your muffin golden brown. That way you know when it's ready to come out of the oven. 1 milliliter of dried thyme. Thyme is often used in baking to add layers of flavor without being overwhelming. It complements the vegetables found within our muffin as well as the cheddar and bacon. 1 milliliter of garlic powder. This will add a little bit more complexity to our flavor profile of our savory muffin. 125 milliliters of zucchini. Zucchini is an excellent way to add texture and moisture to baked products. It's full of vitamin C and has a very mild flavor that complements well with the other ingredients in our muffin. 125 milliliters of carrot. Carrot is an excellent way to add flavor and texture to our muffin. Carrots are a great source of vitamin A. Eating a lot of carrots has been known to improve eyesight, especially night vision. 125 milliliters cheddar cheese. Cheddar cheese will add a distinct, tangy, prominent flavor to our muffin that will complement well with our other flavors. It also melts very easily, so it will not add extra texture to our muffin since we already have it with our vegetables. 1 stalk green onion. Green onions, also known as spring onions, are a great way to add an onion flavor that is mild but still distinctive. 1 large egg. Egg contributes to the nutrition of the mixture, but also is known as an emulsifier. An emulsifier will bind 2 unlikely products together, such as milk and our oil. 50 milliliters of oil. Today we're using canola oil. This will have a tenderizing effect as it interferes with the development of the gluten. This will make our muffins soft. 125 milliliters buttermilk. Buttermilk will add extra nutrition to our muffin, but also is the liquid needed to activate both our baking powder and baking soda due to its acidic nature. If you don't have buttermilk on hand, you can easily substitute it with 125 regular milk and adding 2 milliliters of white vinegar to help sour the mixture. 1 sliced bacon. This ingredient is optional. It will not only add a smoky flavor to your muffin, but also some extra protein to its nutrition profile. These are all the ingredients you need to make the zucchini carrot cheddar bacon muffins. Equipment. For this recipe, you will need measuring equipment, including dry measures, a liquid measure, and small measures. Metal spatula, rubber spatula, custard cups, 12-cup muffin tin, metal pie plate, a sieve, a metal spoon, large and medium mixing bowls, grater, chef's knife, cutting board, a metal fork, wooden spoon, shortening needed for greasing the muffin tin, wax paper, also for greasing the muffin tin, oven mitts, hot mat, and finally, a cooling rack. Method. Bachette stands for the beginning steps that you need to do at the start of your lab. B stands for books and bags. They should be away either at the back of the classroom or under your table. A stands for apron, which you need to put on to help protect your clothing. S stands for sleeves. You need to roll them up past your elbows. H stands for long hair that touches the shoulders that needs to be tied back, or hats that need to be removed. C stands for chairs that should be tucked under your table and out of your way. H stands for hands that should be washed properly for 30 seconds using hot water and soap. E stands for equipment, which you should be getting out as quickly as possible without wasting time. And T stands for the towels that you need to pick up. You need at least 2 dishcloths and 2 tea towels. Step 1. Use oven racks at number 3 and number 4. Preheat oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius. In order to preheat your oven, press the bake button and then the arrow up. It should automatically go to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a moderate temperature used perfectly for muffins because it will still caramelize your sugar, turning them golden brown without burning the product. Step 2. Wash and grate zucchini on a large holes of the grater. Measure out 125 milliliters of zucchini. Place in a tea towel over a colander. Sprinkle with salt and let it sit in the sink for 10 minutes. Salting zucchini helps draw out some of the moisture. So best pro tip I can give you is if you have a cutting board that slides around like the ones we have in our lab, is to put a damp dishcloth down on the counter first and then your cutting board. That way your board won't move. Now 125 mils of the zucchini will be roughly a quarter of the zucchini, so cut off a size that is roughly a quarter of a small zucchini. Then grate that piece. Now the grater has large holes, used typically for vegetables or cheese. That's the side we want to use. Carefully grate your zucchini. Be mindful of where your fingertips are and make sure that they do not hit the blades of the grater. Make sure you constantly turn and rotate your zucchini so an angle doesn't develop. You're more likely to hurt yourself that way. When you get down to the last little bit, be cautious. You can always take a chef's knife and gently cut up the last little bit so that way you don't waste any of the vegetable. Once all the zucchini has been grated or cut up, measure it in 125 dry measure. Make sure you have enough or else your muffin will be dry and not have enough moisture in it. Next, take a colander and put an old tea towel on the top, something that you don't mind if it accidentally dyes green because that's been known to happen. Sprinkle salt all over the zucchini and then allow the moisture to drain and soak up in the tea towel. Make sure you do this step. If you leave it as is, your muffin will be very mushy and soft in texture. We want a muffin that is firm but moist, and we need to draw some of this moisture out. Pop the colander into a sink and set a timer for 10 minutes. Make sure you put it in the sink in case water drips all over your counter and onto the floor. That would cause a slipping hazard. Step 3. Grease bottoms of muffin cups with shortening. Bottoms only and not the sides. Shortening has a higher smoke point than margarine or butter, so it will not burn as easily as margarine or butter. Using a folded piece of wax paper, dip into the shortening bucket and grease the bottoms of the muffin tin. Make sure you leave the sides bare. If you grease the sides, the muffin batter will have nothing to grip onto to help lift itself up as it rises from the carbon dioxide gas being pushed through the dough. This will give it a chance to be its tallest height without it being from the result of overmixing of the gluten. Step 4. Dice bacon in 1.2 centimeter half-inch squares. In non-stick skillet, fry bacon over medium heat until the bacon is crisp. Transfer to a paper towel lined plate to drain fat. Now, take one slice of bacon and cut it lengthwise, 1.2 centimeters in width. Gather up the strips and we're going to cut across them. As I cut across them, my one hand is going to be in a tight C formation. That way, if I come close to my hand, the knuckles of my hand will hit the side of the blade and I won't accidentally cut off my fingertips. Now, as I go across the bacon strips, I will rock and chop. That means the tip of my chef's knife never lifts up from the cutting board. It's constantly rocking back and forth. Make sure that if your bacon becomes not gathered in a pile, that you take a moment, gather it back together, and cut across the length. Notice how I'm using a different cutting board and knife to cut the bacon. Bacon is raw, and if it has any harmful bacteria in it, we don't want to accidentally cross-contaminate it with our other vegetable material. So always use a different knife and a different board and keep them separated until you wash them. After, transfer your bacon to a skillet on medium heat. Make sure you use a wooden spoon to stir it, and if you notice your bacon popping up out of the pan, you gently lower the heat. After a while, it should look like this, and you know it's ready. To tell if the bacon is done, it should be solid in color and no longer transparent. Have a plate off to the side lined with paper towel. Transfer your cooked bacon to it so that it gives a chance to absorb all the excess fat off the bacon. We don't want to have that go into our muffin. It will have a greasy texture if it does. You could also use the paper towel to gently pat the top of your bacon to try to remove any excess fat. Remember, you want to do this step early enough so your bacon has a chance to cool down before it's added to the batter. If it's too hot, it might start cooking the egg. After you're done with the paper towel, that is fully compostable. Don't throw it in the garbage. Step 5. Sift all-purpose flour onto a pie plate. Measure and sift again into a large bowl. Stir in the remaining dry ingredients: unsifted whole wheat flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, black pepper, sugar, thyme, and garlic powder. This is the first step of the muffin method. Baking powder with liquid and heat produces carbon dioxide, primary leavener. Baking soda with liquid acid, buttermilk, and heat produces carbon dioxide, primary leavener. Now we're only going to sift our all-purpose white flour. Our sieve holes are too small for you to sift whole wheat flour. It would get stuck and not be very effective. Now we sift flour for 2 different reasons. 1, to remove lumps. We live on the west coast of Canada, really close to the sea. And unfortunately, the moisture in our air tends to make all our dry powder ingredients that we use for baking really lumpy. It doesn't even matter if we keep them in airtight containers, somehow the moisture still gets in. So we always give a chance to sift our flour and remove those lumps. When you remeasure your flour, you're going to notice that the measurement is perfect, but flour is still left behind in your pie plate. That's because you have replaced the volume of flour with air, and that is the second reason why we sift flour, to add in additional air. Air is just as important as the leavening agents themselves. Air pockets allow a couple different things. 1, for the carbon dioxide produced from the leavening agents to push through the baking product and helping it rise. The second reason why air pockets are super important is that when the liquid in the batter starts to steam, the steam also pushes through the air pockets, allowing the baking product to rise. So air pockets are so important, and adding in as much air as we can into the all-purpose flour at this stage is crucial. Now, after you've re-sifted it again into a large bowl, add in the additional dry ingredients. This is the first step of your muffin method. So we're going to add in our whole wheat flour, which we do not sift, we add directly to the bowl. We'll add in our 2 leavening agents, both baking powder and baking soda. And at this stage, they're not activated yet because no liquid has been added. Then we'll add in our sugar, our salt, our pepper, and our aromatic flavors from both the thyme and the garlic powder. Give it a stir with a wooden spoon. At this stage, there is no liquid in the bowl, so you don't have to worry about accidentally over-activating the gluten. That is important because when we make muffins, we often stress don't overmix. But you don't want to be too vigorous with the wooden spoon because you might deflate all that extra air we added to our flour when we sifted. So you can still stir, but make sure you keep that in mind. Step 6. Grate and measure carrot and cheddar cheese onto a pie plate. Chop green onion, stir into dry ingredients, stir in bacon. If desired, save some of the grated cheese for the tops of the muffins. 125 milliliters of grated carrot is roughly approximately half a carrot, so make sure you grate that much. When you're grating the carrot, use the large whole side of the grater and make sure you're being mindful of where your fingertips are. When you get down to the end of the carrot, you can always try to push it through with a flat hand, or you can always chop it up like we did the zucchini with a chef's knife. When you're done, make sure you pull all the carrot out from the inside of the grater and double measure it. Make sure that you have enough, or else your moisture content in your muffin might be a little off. Once you're done measuring, transfer the remaining carrot to a pie plate until you're ready to add it to your batter. Then grate your cheese on the same large whole circle side of the grater. Make sure that you constantly rotate the block of cheese as you're grating it, because it tends to develop a sharp angled side, and you're more likely to slip and accidentally hit your fingertips on the grater. So I'm always constantly rotating and turning the block. When you get down to that last little bit, you can always use a flat hand to try to just gently push it through the grater holes. Make sure you're not going fast, because you're more likely to cut your hand, and that way all your cheese is grated. Then we're going to chop up the green onion using a similar rock and chop motion with our chef's knives as we did use on the bacon earlier. When we do this, make sure that the hand holding down the green onion is in a nice tight C shape. So that way, if your knife slips or you get too close to the hand holding down the green onion, your knuckles will hit the side of the blade and your fingertips won't get chopped. Make sure you go down the length of the green onion in even slices, and make sure you use all parts of the onion, including the white at the end. Discard the root tip in the compost bin when you're ready. And transfer the green onion also to the pie plate. Once you're done chopping and grating all your vegetables and cheese, add that to your dry ingredients. Don't forget to grab out your zucchini from the tea towel that's been sitting there for the last 10 minutes and add your cooled down bacon to the mixture as well. Give it a stir with a wooden spoon. We want to make sure all this extra vegetable and bacon has been coated in flour. If you don't, what tends to happen is that it will sink all to the bottom of the muffin when it's baking. We want to have it all equally suspended throughout the batter, and so it's important that everything gets a nice coating of flour. Step 7. With a fork, beat egg in a medium bowl. Stir in oil and buttermilk. This is the second step of the muffin method. Make sure you crack your egg by hitting the counter and not the side of the bowl. When students hit the side of the bowl, they often send eggshell flying into their mixture, and they won't notice until they bite into their muffin and find the hidden eggshell within it. Then make sure you take a fork and beat very well. The emulsifying properties that are usually found within eggs are actually in the yolk. So if you don't mix it up well, it won't help bind the oil and milk together very well. Once you're ready, you can add in your buttermilk and your oil and give it a good stir. Step 8. Make a well in the center of the dry ingredients. Pour liquids into the well all at once. With a wooden spoon, stir until the dry ingredients are moistened. Do not overmix. The batter should look thick and lumpy. Now, the muffin method is one of the few methods where you get to add all the liquids. Most of our methods for baking, you have to add them a little bit at a time, and sometimes you don't even use them all. So that's what makes this method of mixing special. Make sure you use a wooden spoon. Any other tool will over-agitate the gluten found within the flour, because as soon as the flour gets wet, gluten is activated. Now, a little gluten is okay for our structure, but too much causes tunnels to form within our baking product, which we don't want. Make sure you mix until all the flour has been incorporated. No more, no less. Super thick batter is what we're going for. Step 9. Spoon batter evenly into prepared muffin tin. Cups should be at least 2/3 full. Any remaining grated cheese can be sprinkled on top of the muffins. Fill any empty muffin cups half full with cold water. Wipe any spilt batter from the muffin tin with a damp dishcloth. Using 2 metal spoons works best. You can transfer the muffin batter to your prepared muffin tin. Make sure you're filling them evenly. If it's not done that way, what will happen is the muffins will have different baking times, and one might be undercooked and one might be overcooked. So it's really important to get the mixture amounts the same in each tin. If you notice one is filled too much, you can always take the spoons and transfer some of the dough from one cup to another. Make sure that you use cold water to fill any empty muffin tins. We want to make sure that there's even heat distribution while it's baking. So I like to use a liquid measure to carefully pour water into each cup. And if you did save any of that grated cheese, you can use it to top off the tops of the muffins. Just makes it a little bit more exciting when you look at it visually, but it's not necessary if you forgot to save some of your cheese. Make sure you also wipe the top of your muffin tin down with a damp cloth. That way it makes it easier for your dishwasher to wash the muffin tin once the muffins are out. Also, check to make sure that no cheese is on the top, because burnt cheese is really hard to scrub off. It is better to take the extra minute to check the top of the muffin tin now before you put it in the oven to bake. Step 10. Bake for 20 to 25 minutes until golden brown on top. To set the timer on the oven, first click the timer on/off button. Then use the up and down arrows to set the time that you need for your baking. Once you let go of the on/off arrows, your clock will then begin ticking down in seconds. Step 11. Cool muffin for 5 to 10 minutes in the tin before transferring them to a cooling rack to cool completely. Make sure you protect the countertops with a hot mat before putting the hot tin down. Also, be careful you don't dip the thumb of your oven mitt into the cup that has the water. It'll be very hot, the oven mitt will absorb it, and you'll end up burning your hand. As the muffins cool down, you'll notice they significantly shrink away from the sides of the pan. Then you can use 2 forks to help lift them up and transfer them to the cooling rack to cool completely. The yield for this recipe is 8 muffins. Groups of 3 will make 12 muffins. Tests for doneness. 1. The top of the muffin will bounce back quickly when lightly pressed with a finger. 2. A toothpick inserted into the center of the muffin will come out dry and clean. 3. Sides of the muffin will shrink away from the muffin tin. Standards. 1. Slightly bumpy, pebbly, round top, not smooth and peaked. This is caused by not over mixing your dough and making sure that you mix until it's just moistened. If you over mix, you will activate the gluten, causing smooth tops. 2. Moist texture, not dry and tender, breaks easily and is not heavy or tough. You can achieve this by making sure you don't overmix your batter, but also double checking all your measurements of the grated vegetables, making sure you have enough moisture content for the muffin. 3. No air tunnels. When you have air tunnels, this shows me you overmixed your muffin, activating the gluten way too much, and it allowed it to stretch out, causing giant air tunnels to form inside the muffin. When I don't see them, it means I knew you took the time to carefully mix your batter. These are the standards for the zucchini, carrot, cheddar bacon muffins. Let's take a look at my demonstration muffins. Now I have one that is absolutely perfect and one that is overmixed. Now, look at the height of the one that is perfect. It's quite small, but it has a lovely bumpy top, has great texture across the top. And that's what we want to see. My gluten muffin, my overmixed muffin, has a very smooth, tall, peaked top, and it's much taller than the one that was undermixed perfectly. When you compare them, you can see the height difference of the gluten muffin and the regular one. So that's not a good sign when we see that height. Again, smooth tops are a bad sign. Bumpy tops is what we want. Let's take a look at the inside of our muffins now, and I can show you the texture. I'm going to cut open our regular muffin first. Inside, what I should find is a nice even crumb texture. I shouldn't see gluten holes. I should see it very compact and dense. That's a good quality of a perfectly mixed muffin. The gluten muffin, when I cut it open and take a look at the inside, I'm going to see giant air pockets, and you can see right away where they are. That is because the gluten is stretching out, causing giant tunnels to form. Technically, the amount of batter is the same in both of these muffins, just one has been overmixed and one hasn't. And again, you can see why that muffin's so tall. The gluten stretches out the height so much. These savory muffins are so full of flavor and textures from the various vegetables, cheese, and bacon that you can eat them for breakfast or for lunch. I hope you enjoyed making them as much as I did. Happy baking, and thanks for watching.